Hi, Garden Dad here. Today's one of my favorite days of the gardening season. I'm gonna harvest my garlic. They're nice sized cloves. See, this is nice garlic. Again, I always tell you, it's not a beauty contest. We're just trying to get something practical. So the next thing I'm gonna do is just kind of spread this garlic out on the racks. Back in the 1990s, and I had 12,000 heads of garlic growing up. For any of you who weren't satisfied with a B in school and you needed to have an A and you need some extra credit, think about some sort of green manure, buckwheat. We're gonna do some harvesting. Now, I haven't really talked to you about how I even plant the garlic. You plant the garlic in the fall. We're in the Northeast. We plant a hardneck garlic, a variety of porcelain called Music, and you plant it in October in the Northeast, and then it's usually ready to come out first or second week of July. Let's get going with the garlic harvesting process. Last night I got into the sausage bread a little bit, and this morning I got into some baked goods, so I thought I needed a little bit of an extra workout. So I decided I was going to weed one of the beds of garlic and pull up a few garlics to see what they look like. One of my concerns is these leaves are starting to turn brown. God, probably 2 weeks earlier than I normally would expect. I picked a few of them and I got them inside the barn. And what we'll do is cut them open. I look to see if cloves are forming. And if cloves are forming, I may actually pull these up. Because when I leave them in too long, I don't know, I don't like leaving them in too long. They start bursting open. So here's the garlic I picked as samples. These guys aren't too bad a size, 2.5, 3 inches in diameter. It's kind of nice. Here's a big one. That might be, that's definitely three inches in diameter. So I'm gonna cut these open and see what they look like inside. This one looks like it's already starting to form cloves, which is a good thing. Trying to see. So these guys are forming cloves, which is a good thing. I don't know, maybe I'll give it they're nice sized cloves. See, this is nice garlic. This is Music. This is really nice garlic. You can see how big they are. This is not like that the soft neck. This is like, 4 or 5 big cloves per head. They're nice size. Maybe I'll give these another week. I'm not sure what this is, if it's too much moisture or not. That's a little bit of a little concerned about that, but doesn't matter. If I'd harvested this and it was dried out, I would just cut that away. It's garlic. So these are looking pretty good. They're forming cloves. Let's see what this one looks like. Yeah, so they're starting, they've got cloves, but I think they might need another week. You can see the leaves are getting brown. Used to be back in the day, I'd harvest around mid-July. The last few years, I'd have to start harvesting early July. So what I usually do is I pull up a head of garlic, and I'm not sure this guy's gonna come up without breaking. So I have a little shovel that I'm gonna actually go get. I didn't bring it over, but I'm gonna pull up a couple of garlics and I'll show you what I look for when I check to see if I think the garlic's ready. And let me preface by saying, I don't harvest garlic on my hands and knees. I'm just down here so I could be in the camera and show you what I do. But I got this little shovel, Lauren's little garden shovel from when she was a kid, and I just try to dig up from the outside, because a lot of times, if it breaks, the garlic stays in the ground if you can't find it. And that's how I get volunteer garlic. So I'm just gonna try to clump off some of this. And it looks like it's a nice head. I pull away the garlic. And you can see that the cloves are forming. There's some nice cloves here. That's a nice clove. Holy cow, I love this Music garlic. So the cloves are forming. They're formed, I would say. It's always a debate whether I should keep them in longer or not. My brother-in-law likes taking his out later. I think I'm gonna pull these up, let them start to dry. we're going to do some harvesting. So I'm going to dig these up. After a while, once you get going, sometimes you could just pull them up, but I'm just going to dig them up right now. I'm going to lay them on the ground. I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to get the dirt off. I might shake the dirt off them. They pull sometimes. I'm going to lay them here, and eventually I'll bring them over to the wheelbarrow. That's a nice one. I won't wash these. I'll just let them dry, and then the dirt comes right off. And then when I want to make them look nice and clean, I'll peel the outside layers of skin, kind of like you peel the layers of an onion. Okay, so you get the idea. Once I get a wheelbarrow full of these, I'll bring them up to where I dry them off, and I'll show you how I spread them out on the drying racks. I'm in the garage, and I'm going to show you the rack system I use. So when I harvest the garlic, I'm going to lay the garlic on these racks. We'll get it dried out for a few weeks or a month, or depends on how busy I am out. Doesn't matter how long it dries. Usually it ends up in the racks longer because I have other stuff going on. I'll show you how I set up my racks. So this is a pretty simple system. I had some leftover masonry blocks from a project. I don't know, I had a wall down below this building and it was collapsing, so a mason had to come in and reinforce the wall. He had some extra blocks. I kept them forever, and now I use them. I've got some old scrap 2x4s. They're actually pieced together because this is maybe 10 feet long, and I got scrap wood. Then way back when, probably back in the 1990s, my father used to come and help me with this project, and he made me these drying racks out of scrap wood. You know, we try to do our part not to put stuff in the landfill. So you look at these pretty closely, and this is all scrap wood, old chicken wire. In some cases, the chicken wire was rusting out, so I got a tie wrap. But, you know, again, I always tell you, it's not a beauty contest. We're just trying to get something practical. And I reuse these racks every year. Sometimes I have to reinforce them. This looks like it's getting a little loose, so I might have to put some screws in here. But these are my racks. I'm going to have 3 racks going all the way across. I got another rack down there. We're going to take the garlic and we'll lay it on these racks. So the next thing I'm going to do is just kind of spread this garlic out on the racks. I might get a couple layers here. I got the windows open to this building, and we're just going to let it dry. My wife's really good at this. She layers it, and she gets them all lined up, and I don't bother with that. I just kind of get it. At some point, I might have to get them tighter because I might run out of space. Try to give them enough room so they're not, so the stalks aren't covered up. Probably got to spread those out a little bit over there. Maybe spread these out a little bit. I don't want them to get musty or moldy. They won't, but I just kind of give them some room. I don't have a lot. Back in the 1990s, we were early in our careers, and we were trying to figure out how to make some extra money. And we were into organic gardening. We got into organic gardening, and we thought maybe we can grow organic garlic and sell it. And I had 12,000 heads of garlic growing up back there, and it wasn't worth the time and effort. Back then, nobody even could spell organic, and you really need to be gardening at scale, and we weren't. It was all hand done. So in those days, I'd have all kinds of racks, and I had a lot of it piled up, but I'm only growing 300 garlic this year, and that's a manageable amount for me. For any of you who weren't satisfied with a B in school and you needed to have an A and you need some extra credit, the next thing I'm going to do here is, well, this soil's actually broken up pretty good from shoveling up all the garlic. I'm going to plant some buckwheat here, and all I'm going to do is spread buckwheat like I spread grass seed. And I might get a rake and, bang it around a little bit. But one thing about buckwheat, it germinates quickly, and it's got a relatively short life to maturity, and it's a great green manure. So I'll plant some buckwheat here. When it grows, I'll weed whack it down, turn it over, and I could get a second planting of buckwheat before the fall. And then in the fall, I'll cover this with leaves. And then these beds will be in fallow, which means they'll just hang out next year. They won't do anything. That's why you might see, when you see some of my video, you might see plastic over some beds and nothing's growing there. Those are last year's garlic and potato beds. And buckwheat, I buy it in 50-pound bags, and it might be $1.50 a pound. And you know, I've got a lot of garden. I'd say I'm a hobby farmer, but I'm not sure I'm really a hobby farmer. So I can go through a 50-pound bag of buckwheat. It might take me 2 years to get through it because I put it all over the place. So that's your extra credit. Think about some sort of green manure, buckwheat, I don't know, winter rye, but winter rye, I usually do that a little bit later. Vetch is decent. Sudan grass is really good if you can get a hold of it. It's not cheap. Sudan grass is really bulky green manure, but you can read about green manures. But I usually use buckwheat because that's what I know and it's easy to get. That's what it looks like. So I'm just going to spread it. Just going to spread it around, kind of like grass seed. I might put some in the aisles. I don't know. And I don't know. There's probably some rate that I'm supposed to spread this at, but I don't know. I just do it. And now I'm just gonna bang this garden rake. Just gonna bang it down, and that'll kind of kick up some dirt and cover up the buckwheat. It doesn't need to be buried. I just bang it down a little bit, and that's all I do. Maybe in a couple of weeks, I'll do a walkabout and we might see some germinate. We'll see. So we got them all harvested, and I planted buckwheat in the other 2 beds. The way the math works, because these cloves are so big, I get maybe 4 to 5 cloves per head. And if I'm going to grow 300 garlic, that means I need to set aside 60 or 70 heads for my seed next year. So I'm going to give you a quick review of what I use for sorting the garlic out after it's dried, but I'm going to show it to you now because I'm so excited. These look pretty big. So this is just a piece of wood, and I put nails in 1 inch apart, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. Now back in the day, if I got a 2 or 2.5 inch head, I was happy. And the way it worked out was maybe 1/3 of my heads were greater than 2 inches. A handful were greater than 2.5 inches, but most were 1.5, and a whole bunch of them were just little tiny things. This year, it's much different. So here's how I do it. I take a head, I slide it, and this thing is greater than 2.5, almost 3. And I could grab any of these randomly, and it's greater than 2.5 inches. It's hitting before it hits 2.5 inches. In the old days, they'd all be banging down at around 1.5 or 2. Now these are all 2.5 or greater. It's nice. I'm excited about this garlic. It's a good year. So that's a summary of the garlic harvest. As a review, we plant garlic in the autumn, usually by mid-October, but I've planted as late as November. And you plant it 1 clove at a time, and I'll do a video on that when the time comes. You let it winter over. Sometimes it comes out of the ground in the fall, and that's okay. I cover it up with leaves to get it protected from the winter and for good mulch, and so I don't get as many weeds in the spring. And then, as you saw earlier, around early June, the scapes come up. We pop off the scapes, and now early July, we harvest it. Now it's in the racks to dry for a few weeks. I don't know. I usually have it on the racks for like a month. I don't think it needs that long, but I'm usually doing other stuff. And I say, I got to get around to the garlic and I got to get it sorted. So I'll probably get it sorted out, and I'll save my biggest 60, 75 heads for seed for me and my friends. And then the rest of it I give away. Like I said, I used to sell it. It's not worth selling it. So I give it to my friends and I say, do something nice for somebody. I don't take money. I tell them to, buy a cup of coffee for a stranger, give a $20 bill to some woman who's pushing her carriage down the road, looks like she could use some help. Do something. But I don't sell my garlic. I just give it away. So, and that's it. So that's garlic harvest summary. Hope you're doing great. Hope your gardens are going well. If you got any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section here. If you like this video, let us know. If you want to see some other kind of videos, let us know. And in the meantime, be kind to everybody, smile at everybody, and have a great day every day.